Good morning, everyone at the Keep Times audience. Through his work in the Alberta Public Health Services, Joshua Wolchansky advocates for transparent decision making, increased information flow, and strengthening workers' protections. Through community advocacy, work through Fruit Loop, the Society of Alberta, he has leveraged the strength of the local economy to benefit marginalized members of our community. Now he is running for City Council for Ward Odemin, which is the downtown district. Welcome, Joshua Wolchansky, to the Keep Time Studios.
Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My first question, if elected to represent Ward Odemin, how will you protect our most vulnerable community members? By this, in specific, I want to talk to you a bit about your plans to tackle the city's homeless population and the problems there within.
Excellent question, and I wanted to thank you for having me. I think that these are important conversations for us to be having. My four priorities that I really want to tackle as councillor for Odemin is to address the social and housing crisis, reignite our downtown core, tackle climate change, and invest in our neighborhoods, stopping urban sprawl and bringing investment into the heart of the city. You know, it's really important, exactly as you say, for us to take a housing first approach. We need to connect people with these services with supportive, affordable housing. And I think that housing really goes along a spectrum. We started affordable and supportive housing, but it goes all the way up to market housing, making sure that that families are able to afford living in a central ward. I think that contributes to the urban sprawl. I think in terms of addressing the housing crisis, mental health crisis, we need to invest in a housing first approach, but I think it's more than housing. It's not just putting individuals in spaces. It's about making sure that they have the resources they need so they can focus on living their lives to the fullest. That means social programs, mental and health addiction programs, financial literacy programs, job and skills training. I think that another piece that we really need to look at is how, having the addiction and housing crisis, how closely that is linked to how affected Indigenous communities are with that, and how there's an opportunity for us to really do work to address generational trauma by actually, looking at programs like Ambrose Place, Nigana Developments, and investing in this where we have social services with community care and culturally appropriate situations.
Your platform promises accessible, responsive representation. You seek to create diverse intersectional communities. If elected to City Council, what steps will you take to address the growing concerns of our, for example, our Muslim brothers and sisters with the growing onset of violence?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that having accessible, responsive representation is so key. Relationships, the key to any relationship is success, as we know. And there's nothing that's more direct to me than a representative with their electorate. And when individuals feel unsafe, that's indicative, it's a very, very clear indicator that our representation isn't listening to our community, isn't being responsive to the needs of our community. Everyone should feel safe, first and foremost. I think that I was at the rally a few weeks ago and just heard incredibly powerful stories of lived experience. And to me, I think that we need to bring our policy making rather than choosing for communities. I think that we really need to look at lived experience and call individuals in and make sure that there are seats at the table for those who are going to be affected by this.
I want to talk a little bit about Two-Spirit LGBTQ plus the community and how they have disproportionately been affected by the housing insecurities, institutional violence, and barriers to living a full and open life. If elected to City Council, how will you help address these people who have historically been marginalized and disregarded by their elective representatives?
Of the youth who are experiencing homelessness or inaccess to housing, there's 40% of them are 2S LGBTQIA+. That's so indicative that we don't have systems where people can access and feel safe and supported. Incredible projects like the Chew project happening downtown out of Isthmus at the U of A are great, and we need more of them. We need our folks to feel safe when it absolutely comes down to it. Like we need to move towards having open conversations about sexuality, gender and sexual diversity from a much earlier point, I think.
Emerging from the COVID pandemic, as more people get their double vaccination shots, how do you plan to protect the local economy, to create a vibrant economy, and how do you plan to attract new investments to emerging fields?
Yeah, so as the only candidate in O'Damon who has experience in economic development, I'm really excited about the opportunity. You know, the last, and seeing how the last years have affected our community, I've been heartbroken. Our hospitality sector is hurting, our arts and culture sector are hurting, we've got vacant office towers. Our economy is hurting. People feel like they have less of an access to opportunity, like it's dire. But there's an opportunity here for us to actually come in. We've proven that city council can actually be agile, that they can actually be responsive. We don't need to issue report after study after inquiry and take years to realize things. We can move quickly. And I've developed a short, medium, and long-term plan for us to develop economic viability and to become a global destination. And that starts by investing in our live entertainment culture. You know, for every dollar that you invest into live entertainment, there's like $6 or $7 that's directly reinvested back into the community through hospitality, food, bev, transportation, accommodation. It's going to be the spark that actually lights the fire that gets people back downtown. How council can support this is through ways of a position that I've proposed, that I also, mayoral candidate Sohi also just included in his platform, is to introduce a night mayor or a director of nighttime economy. And this is going to be a dedicated position to provide policy support, permitting approvals, you know, standardizing things if hospitality sectors need things like safe space training, connecting them with that sort of feeling. It's about making sure that we are investing in providing that support for council to actually operate outside that 9 to 5.
First of all, I know you are a big fan of the Starlight Room, a big fan of our local downtown venues and arts, you know, community. Would this nightmare be kind of involved with these businesses, these organizations? What is the nightmare, and what does that enthrall?
Edmonton's economy doesn't run 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. City council support shouldn't either. We need an actual dedicated liaison who's going to bring together the arts and culture sector, hospitality sector, social services, community service, safety services, and provide a forum for everyone to be on the same page. You know, is there opportunity for more grant funding? A perfect example is Starlight Lounge, which very, very happy they were one of our first endorsements. They are not designated under current legislation as a cultural sector or as a cultural venue. And so they're ineligible to access a lot of grant funding, which means that what they rely upon is liquor sales. Now, as we move towards a harm reduction, you know, it's about how can I focus on bringing in the best possible artists as opposed to the artists who might give me the best sales, right? It's about making sure that we have a full spectrum so that we're focusing on a user experience and creating a really strong economy and supporting that.
I want to talk a little bit about naloxone then, because I think that is something that is deeply kind of with the nightlife and with safety in our streets. With naloxone safe injection, stuff along those lines, would that be something the Nightmare will be kind of dedicated to kind of work around? Because with the loss of our downtown safe injection sites, with a lot of the rise in opiates in our streets, I think that is something that we deeply need to look about when it comes to our nighttime entertainment and community and what's going on.
Drug poisonings are the leading cause of death in Albertans aged 15 to 59 by a margin of 35 to 50%. 4 Albertans are dying every single day from drug poisonings. I'm sure everyone in this room has lost someone to a drug poisoning, and it's not being spoken of. It's this thing that we're treating as naughty or dirty, and we're using a mindset of prohibition, of abstinence. Well, prohibition didn't work for alcohol. We made gin in bathtubs. Abstinence didn't work for sex ed. Even taking marijuana as an example, you know, before it was legalized, you were a dope fiend, you were a pothead. There were all of these terms of otherness. Now you're a cool mom. There's such a disconnect. I think that council, the province, the feds, we need to come together. We need a joint action plan. This is a crisis. We need to stop trying to sweep this under the rug, and we need to bring this to light, take the stigma and the shame out of this. We need a harm reduction approach. The best thing that individuals can do from a personal standpoint, get naloxone, get trained in naloxone, and elect a representative who's going to fight for harm reduction.
Fair enough. Thank you very much about that. I want to talk then a little bit about transit. You encourage transit use as a means to reduce parking pressure in the downtown core, but can we also talk about your plans to introduce a piloted program of fare-free transit on weekends and fare-free circular routes connecting to the heart of the city?
We need to reduce our carbon footprint. We are moving towards shifting climate trends. Climate change is here. We need to reduce our carbon footprint by electrifying the full fleet. There's a lot of money from the feds to complete that initiative. So that's one way. We need to reduce barriers, cost barriers, and get people connected with their community. And so by piloting fare-free transit circulator route in the heart of our city, we're going to connect the communities in the heart of our city and actually allow you to just focus on living your life to the fullest.
Is it possible to roll out these changes when elected to city council? Because as I see transit fare at $3.50 a one-way trip, it's too expensive for the vast majority of people who use it for their everyday commute. Is that a change that you could instigate, or is that a collaborative process where you're going to have to butt heads with people who want, the fare there to, pay for other such aspects of our city?
Sure. I think that having really strong fiscal management, making sure that I was raised by a single parent. The name of the game was watch every single penny. Making sure that every investment that you make has the best return on investment down the line, that you're investing for your future. Transit is an investment in our future, in our today, in our tomorrow, and in creating generations of connecting people with our community. The problem is that through the COVID-19 pandemic, ridership has been decimated. People feel unsafe. They're now unfamiliar with the new transit redesign. And so we need to come up with a way to actually encourage people to get acquainted with it, with the new design, and to feel safe.
Transit is definitely something super important in our city, but one thing important to the O'Day Men community is, I suppose, the bike paths. Can you tell me a little bit about the bike paths in the O'Day Men community? And you essentially want to finish them.
So, like so many in O'Dayman, I get around by walking, by biking, or by taking public transit. And it's so important that our communities have infrastructure to reflect and support those modes of transportation. By completing our sidewalks, by completing our bike lanes, this is going to be key pieces, but I think that we do need to go beyond that. I think that we need to encourage multimodal transportation. It's not just about having painted bike lanes, it's about having dedicated, protected bike lanes, because then that's also going to have an intersectional lens. It's going to encourage families to be using them. It's going to encourage people who have mobility issues to using them, because if you have a median, then you're creating spaces and you're encouraging the behavior that you want to see and you're protecting the behavior. Cars will be around. We're still going to have the car lanes. We're not taking your car lanes away from you. But we are moving towards a greener future and an opportunity for people to experience it with low carbon emission transportation. I think another piece that we can look at is things like e-bikes. And bear with me here, because I know that we did a whole e-bike thing with the city, and it's a charged term. But with the scooter rollout, the scooter companies also make e-bike companies, and we went full on with only scooters. I think that we need to move towards more of like a one-to-one, where we actually have e-bikes that are going to be provided by things like Lime and Spin, so that we provide an opportunity for people to experience the e-bikes as well as scooters.
Do you have any lasting things you would like to say to our audience at the Keep Times about this upcoming election, or even about the O'Day Men word?
Sure. I guess this is the point where I take off my glasses because of the glare thing. I'm getting nuts. Yeah, 100%. Hi, O'Dayman. My name is Joshua Wolchansky. My pronouns are he, him, and it's an honor to come to you on Treaty 6 territory, lands that have been governed, occupied by Indigenous persons since time immemorial. I want to honor that heritage. It's in the honor of community service, collaboration, why I'm running for city council. Let's come together. Let's address the social and housing crisis, reignite the downtown core, tackle climate change, and invest in your neighborhood. Council should be there to support you so you can focus on living your life to the fullest. On October 18th, elect a councillor who's going to be a champion for our community. Let's get to work, Edmonton. Our communities can't wait.
Well, thank you, Joshua Wolchansky. He's running for Ward O'Day Men, which is the downtown district. And thank you for being at the Keep Time studio, and thank you for talking to us about your campaign.
Thanks for hosting these. This was a blast.
Yeah, this was really fun. Peace.